2.
Sorry. On today's program, I'm pleased to have with me Scott McNealy, co-founder and chairman of Sun Microsystems. So, Scott, welcome to the program.
It's always great to come and play on a game show here.
Well, yeah. I mean, we have to have a little bit of fun as we're out there trying to change the world, right? So, what I want to jump right into is, kind of Sun Microsystems video games.
Yeah, what's the deal? Yeah.
Exactly. Why does Sun even have an interest in this?
I thought it was the network is the computer and big enterprise. Well, it turns out that almost all of the growth in content out on the network is coming consumer. Mm-hmm. It's coming from user-generated content. It's coming from gaming. It's coming from media on demand, whether it be a YouTube kind of effort or IPTV, all the rest of it. And Sun needs to get closer to that content creation and what's creating the demand for the network and the services on the back end. And our whole effort has been to get Java into everything. We're into 6 billion devices around the world, cell phones and set-top boxes and the PlayStation 3, all the Blu-ray DVDs, and even the PCs. And gaming is a natural and wonderful environment to take advantage of that ubiquity of write once, run anywhere, a good, safe, high-performance programming architecture. So we're all over this. This is a great opportunity for us to create and generate the kind of demand for the network infrastructure that is how we make our money.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's interesting when you watch the shift of who's adopting all this stuff. It's really our kids, right? We want to see the future of where all this stuff is going. Watch how our kids are using technology today, because they're using it in ways that we never imagined, right? So it's pretty terrific. And of course, I agree that games and entertainment are right there at the forefront, easiest to adopt. Right, easiest for people to go out and get the technology.
And it's okay. I mean, gambling and some of the other adult trades are not necessarily as acceptable and appropriate and politically correct as gaming. And so it's a nice way to we all know what the big drivers are for early technologies. This is a big one. It drives graphics. It drives network bandwidth. It drives client performance. And with the new multi-gaming architectures, you're driving a huge reliance on the back-end infrastructure, which is where we really shine.
So with that, and understanding that this is about driving that architecture and finding that foundation piece, I mean, how do you view electronic entertainment and their place in society?
Well, in the old standalone gaming world, I'm not so sure that necessarily drove a lot of education and a lot. I mean, it certainly was a nice activity generator. But I don't think it necessarily drove the kind of collaboration, communication, community building that we'd like to see. But now as we move into this multi-gaming kind of world where people are actually interacting and creating worlds, Yville kinds of things where we can actually apply some educational value to the gaming experience, I think it's very, very interesting. And when you study economics, it's all about economic gaming. And so gaming theory, whether they be war games or whatever, are all very valuable lessons here in the Darwinian marketplace that we're all part of.
And it's interesting you mentioned, the stock market. It's a phrase I use all the time, which is the biggest multiplayer game in the world is Wall Street.
Absolutely.
And talk to any trader. At the end of the day, it's about getting the biggest number, the biggest score, and going home, right?
Absolutely.
So everyone likes to play, and gameplay is central. I mean, it's central to humanity. Every culture has their games, right? It's kind of the
competition. I mean, if you believe in planned economies, there's not a lot of gaming. If you believe in a market economy, then gaming is all about it. Who wins, and the byproduct of that is an improved standard of living. And what's interesting, I think, as you mentioned, Wall Street. Today, gaming is kind of focused on the cell chip and graphics and real life. At some point, that'll be handled, and then what's going to matter is performance, straight-through processing, and a lot of the kind of aspects of computing that you see on Wall Street playing bigger in the gaming space than the graphics piece. At some point, we'll get to good enough graphics, and then you can almost never have good enough processing power on the back end. And I think that's where some of the technologies we're driving with chip multi-threading, the ROC microprocessor, and the Solaris and Java multi-threaded environments are just going to play huge in the back-end space.
Well, I mean, that's something that we're starting to address now, right? We understand that the client side is pretty much taken care of. And in the entertainment space, it's typically about that forward presentation, right? Who's looking at the back end of that technology? Who's looking at the server side, right? So we are actually focusing some of our development efforts on correcting those problems.
Right, and I also think that user-generated content is going to become an increasingly larger part of the gaming environment. It isn't all just going to be set, and you can invent your own interfaces, you can invent your avatar, you can invent your plot, you can invent who you play against, all the rest of it, and so user-generated is going to become a bigger component, and again, that plays more into this general-purpose programming environment. Darkstar, if you go, is on java.com.
So yeah, if they can actually get to through java.net or projectdarkstar.com.
Okay, so those are a multi-gaming Java architecture that allows you to actually build a gaming environment remotely and with a supercomputer, if you will, underneath it to go actually run the thing. That's kind of where the world is going. And it's not to say that PlayStation 3s aren't exciting and fun and a real volume product, but I think the new growth area will be, the network is the game.
Yeah. No, that's very true. So, I mean, gaming, it's important because it drives, and entertainment, I should say, drives technology adoption at the consumer level. But something I know is very important to you personally is the educational value that can be achieved through connectivity, through gameplay. So, can you talk to us a little bit about how you view the internet as it stands today and what it's going to mean for education moving forward?
Well, our belief is that education has to allow the students to go at their own pace on each subject, and to try and kind of cookie cutter and put everybody on the same path, on the same set of subjects, at the same rate is just, we all develop differently, we all different rates, we have different capacities and different, I'm not so good at language. I don't speak so good, if you know what I'm saying. But, the aptitudes in other areas might be much higher. The idea of being able to put this online, self-paced, on-demand for folks to learn and to use all of the techniques of community gaming, graphics, video, user-generated content, interactivity that exists in the gaming world is excellent in applying that technology learning to the education model.
Yeah, and I think we're also going to wind up seeing, when we're looking at social aspects, when people aren't identified by gender or race or religion, and they're able to communicate without those traffics in these sorts of environments, I think we're going to see, a whole new world of understanding and education and communication that's going to happen with our children that, we couldn't experience today.
The network certainly creates a culture-blind, color-blind, gender-blind kind of an environment, because you really don't know who's on the other end of that environment. Another big breakthrough that I see that's happening is what you're doing here with open source and creating an open, participative, community-engineered, community-developed gaming architecture is exactly what we want to do in education. We want to open these interfaces up and unlock the proprietary, caves that we've been stuck in education.
Right. In fact, we do have a project that is in the open source space now called Project Wonderland, and this is basically to enable the open source community to get together and build collaborative tools and discussion tools and everything, and run it on our core Darkstar platform, right? So we'll kind of take care of the pipes and take care of the infrastructure for them, and let those content creators, those educators, do what they do best, which is create educational content, create entertainment content, right? So yeah, we're a big believer in that, making sure we have communities pulled together to do this. So you mentioned Java technology as well. It's on billions of devices. It's across all these different platforms. How do you feel about, or what are your opinions rather, regarding Java as a technology platform for this kind of innovation moving forward?
Well, we believe, like I said, the network is the game or the game console, and as a result, you're going to need very large, very scalable, very high performance, very reliable infrastructure on the back end to handle the millions of users who could be playing a single game at a single time. And you look at what's going on with fantasy football or fantasy baseball, and if you look at that all going live and real time and interactive, it's like Wall Street. The grids, some of the largest grids in the world are being built for the biggest game in the world, which is the financial trading environment, the stock market, the Wall Street exchanges, and that sort of thing. So we look at the Spark, Solaris, and Java back-end infrastructure as the most robust, open-sourced, scalable architecture to go build these gaming platforms on, and we'll be driving that very, very aggressively going forward. It's a big opportunity.
Excellent. Yeah, and the fact, again, that it's open and free for people to use means we can reach all different economic boundaries. We can reach, basically globally with a common platform for people to innovate.
Another big win is Trusted Solaris. The security model built into the UltraSpark T1 product, for instance, and obviously the Java security model, which is about as good as there is on the internet, makes it a wonderful place. Because once you get a lot of people there, you can't have somebody hacking and messing it up, because it'll disappoint a lot of people when the thing shuts down.
Right. And a lot of what you're talking about, too, ties directly into what's typically known now as serious gaming, right? So half of it is educating our children and allowing them to communicate, but the other half is how do we, make a more effective military? How do we make more effective economic policy through gameplay and game theory?
Businesses are always trying to figure out the gaming theory. If I raise prices, what will happen? If I advertise in Kansas City, what will happen? And to be able to model all of these things, the econometric models are all, gaming theories.
So, okay, so again, this whole idea of community and open and connected to the web, something that you are, again, I believe very passionate about and involved in is Curiki.org. Can you talk a bit about that and what the goal is of the Curiki project?
Well, Curiki.org is it was spun out of Sun, and it was originally funded by Sun, and in fact, Andy Bechtelsheim wrote the first check. He wrote the first check for Sun, for Kaolea, for Granite, and for Google, and he wrote the first check for Curiki.org. We want to open source K-12 educational materials, the textbook, the self-paced, browser-based Java learning environment, the test, and the assessment tool for K-12, all to us. Why do we just open source browsers, spreadsheets, kernels, all of those sorts of things, and even gaming environments? Why don't we open source education? Why do we spend $130 on a third-grade math textbook when nothing's changed since Newton got hit on the head with an apple? Right. And we gratuitously revise it every 4 years, so you can't resell them. And they aren't online, they aren't networked. And we don't know if they're any better than the previous version because we don't have the statistics. Right. Imagine the statistics. If you came to me and said that online open source, and we're going to use the Java community process architecture and Wikipedia-like technologies, wiki technologies. So what Wikipedia is to encyclopedias, Curiki is going to be for curriculum. But imagine you came to me and said, I got a better third-grade math textbook, Chapter 4. We'll give half the students Chapter 4 control, half Chapter 4 prime, and in a matter of hours we'll probably know which one is performing better at test time, and we can evolve the curriculum better through science, technology, and statistics, as opposed to a beer at a ball game, a political move at a school board, or whatever. So there's a big opportunity, and then learning can become, if you will, a contest. It can be a gaming environment. We can get people competing. We can take all of the game theory and all of the technologies we're doing with something like Darkstar or the other open source projects and apply it to the educational environment. And you know what? Learning ought to be a fun game for every kid, and they can go at their own pace on whatever subjects they want. And instead of no child left behind, this is no parent, teacher, or child held back. And I'll give you one last statistic, and that is, in California alone, we spend $400 million a year on textbooks. Every year. You got to be kidding me. Yeah. Think about what we're spending around the world and what can't be spent. And our goal is to raise a couple $100 million, and then we have an endowment that we think we can open source the entire K-12 education. So everybody go to Curiki.org, go to the donate page, and every dollar matters. We'd appreciate your support on this.
Oh, that's excellent. And again, we're going to be there with the open source technologies to help build some entertainment pieces around it and get even more people engaged in it. So, no, I think it's great. Touching on one last thing, because I get this question actually quite often from the community, which is, how do you get to do chief gaming officer stuff inside of Sun? And this has been a long road where I contacted you probably 6 years ago now, and the discussion was to kind of get a better understanding of what the games industry is about and how we're going to be able to assist them moving forward. So thank you for giving me the chance to help Sun push that agenda forward.
Well, I think Sun has done more with less because of your great leadership, and I think by giving you less, we force you to use the community and therefore win. And I think we've got the best gaming strategy in the industry going forward for the new age of network-based gaming. So everybody check out what Chris is doing. It's good stuff, and Sun is fully behind it.
I appreciate it. Scott, thanks very much for coming on the program.
Appreciate it.
It was good.